You walked in as a cautionary tale. Victoria opened her mouth, but no words came. What could she say? Everything Maya said was true. Goodbye, Victoria, Maya said, picking up her bags. I'd say it was nice to see you again, but we both know that would be a lie. The apology. Maya was walking to her car when she heard footsteps behind her. Maya, please. Wait. Damien's voice. She had known this conversation was coming, had dreaded it and anticipated it in equal measure. She turned to face him. He looked broken. The confident, charming man who had swept her off her feet was gone, replaced by someone who understood, too late, what he had destroyed. I'm sorry, Damien said, and his voice cracked on the words. I know it doesn't mean anything now. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. For all of it. For stealing your work. For humiliating you. For betraying someone who loved me completely. Maya studied him for a long moment. She had imagined this conversation 1,000 times. In some versions, she screamed at him. In others, she walked away without a word. In still others, in the versions that came to her at 3 a.m. when she was honest with herself, she forgave him and they somehow found their way back to each other. Why? Maya asked finally. That's what I never understood. Why did you do it? Was it just for money? For Victoria? Damien shook his head, running his hands through his hair. It was ego. Stupid, destructive ego. My company was struggling. My father was losing faith in me. Victoria's father was threatening to pull out of our partnership. Then Victoria saw your designs and said they could save us. She said you were nobody, that no one would believe you over us, that it was just business. And God help me, I chose saving my company over the woman I loved. Did you love me? Maya asked quietly. Or did you love what I could give you? I loved you, Damien said, and tears started down his face. While preparing it for the next century. The questions from the council were sharp, technical, probing. Maya answered each one with expertise that came from years of real-world experience, not just stolen designs. When she finished, the room was silent for a long moment. Then the council chairman began to clap. The others joined in. It was clear to everyone in that room who the winner would be. The confrontation. Maya was packing up her materials when Victoria approached, her face a mask of forced professionalism barely containing rage. That was quite a performance, Victoria said, her voice tight. Playing the victim card. Very manipulative. Maya looked at her calmly. I didn't mention you once in my presentation. Any victim you saw was a reflection of your own guilt. I didn't steal anything, Victoria hissed. Those designs were created under contract for my company. You were just an employee. Keep telling yourself that, Maya said, closing her laptop. But we both know the truth. You took my work because you could never create anything that good yourself. 5 years later, you still can't. That resort that's failing? That's what happens when you steal the blueprint but don't understand the soul behind it. Victoria's hand twitched as if she wanted to slap Maya. You think you've won? You think showing up here with your fancy portfolio changes anything? You're still the same pathetic girl who was so desperate to be loved that she gave away everything. Maya smiled, and there was steel in it. You're right about one thing, I was that girl. But she died the day you stole from her. The woman standing in front of you now? She's someone you could never break again. And yes, Victoria, I have won. Not just this contract. Everything. I win by being so good at what I do that your theft becomes obvious to anyone who compares our work. I win by building an international reputation while you're scrambling to save a dying firm. I win by walking into this room as a legend. The presentation. Maya stood at the front of conference room A, facing the same council that had unknowingly witnessed her humiliation 5 years ago. Behind her, the screen displayed her design for the waterfront revitalization, a vision that balanced innovation with respect for history, sustainability with beauty, community need with artistic vision. In the back row, Damien sat frozen, his face pale. Victoria sat 3 seats away, still unaware of the storm about to break. The council members leaned forward, intrigued by the mystery architect who had agreed to present in person for the first time. "Good afternoon," Maya began, her voice steady and clear. "My name is M. Chen, though some of you knew me once as Maya Chen. I left this city 5 years ago after being told my designs weren't good enough, that I was inexperienced, that I needed to learn my place. Today, I'm here to show you what became of that supposedly inadequate architect." The room erupted in whispers. Victoria's head snapped up, recognition flooding her features with panic. Damien closed his eyes as if in pain. Maya continued, "This waterfront project represents everything I've learned about creating spaces that serve communities rather than egos. Let me walk you through it." For the next 45 minutes, Maya presented the most comprehensive, thoughtful design the council had ever seen. She had studied the city's demographics, its traffic patterns, its environmental challenges, its cultural needs. Every element of her design addressed a specific problem while contributing to a cohesive whole. She showed how the buildings would generate 70% of their own power through integrated solar technology invisible to the naked eye. How the public spaces would manage stormwater while creating gathering places for the community. How the materials would be sourced from regional suppliers, supporting local economy while reducing carbon footprint. How the design honored the site's industrial heritage. She had hired in Tokyo. They set up her presentation in Conference Room A, the same room where Damien had betrayed her, though it had been renovated since then. The other finalists presented first. There was Carter and Associates from New York, with a flashy but impractical design heavy on glass and ego. Meridian Architecture from London, with a solid but uninspired traditional approach. Zhang Collective from Shanghai, with an interesting but overly complex plan. And then there was Victoria Sterling Architecture. Maya watched from the back of the room as Victoria presented. She was still beautiful, still confident, but there was something desperate in her eyes now. Her design was derivative, borrowing elements from trending styles without understanding the principles behind them. The council members asked pointed questions she struggled to answer. When Victoria finished, the council chairman announced a 30-minute break before the final presentation. Maya walked to the bathroom to calm her nerves. When she emerged, she nearly collided with someone in the hallway. Damien Cross. He looked older. The confidence that had once made him magnetic now seemed like bravado. His suit was still expensive, but his eyes were tired. He was there to support Victoria, Maya assumed, though she knew they were no longer together. "Excuse me," Maya said, moving to step around him. "Wait," Damien said, and something in his voice made her pause. He was staring at her with confusion that slowly transformed into recognition. "Maya?" She turned to face him fully, letting him see what his betrayal had forged. "That name doesn't exist anymore," she said calmly. "I'm M. Chen. And I believe I'm up next." The color drained from Damien's face as understanding crashed over him. The legendary M. Chen, the architect everyone wanted but no one could identify, the designer whose portfolio made Victoria's work look like amateur sketches, was Maya. The woman he had destroyed. The woman he had stolen from. Buildings, commercial spaces, parks, and cultural centers. It was the kind of project architects dreamed about, the kind that defined careers and shaped cities for generations. The city council was accepting proposals from architectural firms worldwide. The winner would receive a $50 million contract and international recognition. Maya stared at the announcement on her laptop screen, her heart pounding. Beside her, Kenji sipped his tea, watching her with knowing eyes. "It's time," he said simply. "What if I'm not ready?" Maya asked, the old fear creeping back in. "You've been ready for 3 years," Kenji replied. "The question is not whether you can win. The question is what you'll do when you face them again." Will you be the girl they destroyed, or the woman you become? Maya took a deep breath and opened her design software. For the next 2 months, she worked harder than she ever had in her life. The design she created was breathtaking, a waterfront that honored the city's industrial history while looking toward a sustainable future. Buildings that seemed to dance with the water, public spaces that encouraged community, materials that would last for generations while treading lightly on the earth. She submitted the proposal under Chen architecture, including her full portfolio. A week later, she received the notification she had been selected as one of 5 finalists. The final presentations would be in person. In her old city. In the same conference center where she had once been humiliated. Maya booked her flight. The revelation. The day of the presentation, Maya dressed carefully. Not in the nervous, eager-to-please style of her youth, but in the confident, elegant manner of someone who knew their worth. A tailored black suit, her hair styled in a sleek bob, minimal jewelry except for a stunning silver bracelet Kenji had given her, a graduation gift, he called it. She arrived at the conference center with her assistant, Yuki, a brilliant young architect. The girl who had left with $3,000 and a broken heart now had millions in the bank and offers flooding in faster than she could review them. But she never forgot. Every success was another brick in the foundation of her return. Every award was ammunition. Every satisfied client was proof that her vision was valid, that she had always been the talent, that Damien and Victoria had stolen gold and tried to pass it off as their own creation. Meanwhile, back home, Damien's empire was crumbling. The eco-resort, built from Maya's stolen designs, had been completed 2 years ago. It looked beautiful in photographs, but the reality was different. The sustainable systems didn't work properly because Victoria didn't understand the engineering principles behind Maya's designs. The solar panels were positioned wrong. The water reclamation system flooded during heavy rains. The modular units, which Maya had designed to expand and contract with the seasons, were built as fixed structures and cracked in the winter cold. Reviews were terrible. Investors were furious. The resort that was supposed to revolutionize ecotourism became a cautionary tale about style over substance. Sophie sent Maya the articles, which she read with a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. "They took your heart and broke it," Sophie said during one call. "Now karma is breaking their bank accounts." But it wasn't just karma. Victoria, it turned out, had been having an affair with Marcus Sterling, her father's business partner. When the resort failed and Damien's company began losing money, Victoria left him for Marcus, taking insider information and several key clients with her. Damien was facing bankruptcy. His reputation was in tatters. The golden boy of real estate was now the cautionary tale whispered about in boardrooms. The return. The opportunity came in year 5. Maya's old city was planning its biggest development project in 50 years, a massive waterfront revitalization that would include residentia. They took a masterpiece and claimed it as their own? Make it clear to the world that they will never create anything that good again because they lack the soul that created it. Maya trained for 3 years under Kenji's guidance. She studied traditional Japanese architecture, sustainable design principles, and advanced engineering. She worked part-time at a small architecture firm, taking on projects Kenji sent her way, building a portfolio under the name Chen, mysterious, gender-neutral, intriguing. Her first major project was a disaster relief housing system that could be erected in 48 hours using local materials. It won an International Humanitarian Design Award. Her second was a vertical garden apartment complex in Seoul that became so famous, people came from around the world to photograph it. But Maya stayed hidden. No interviews, no photos, no public appearances. Chen became a mystery. Some thought she was a woman, others a collective of designers, some even speculated it was Kenji himself returning to the field. "Why do you hide?" Sophie asked during one of their weekly video calls. Sophie had moved to Chicago, married a nice engineer, and started a small consulting firm. She was one of the few people who knew where Maya really was. "Because I'm not ready yet," Maya said. When I go back, it has to be perfect. Damien and Victoria need to see not just that I survived, they need to see that I became everything they tried to prevent me from becoming. The empire grows. By year 4, M. Chen had designed buildings on 3 continents. A museum in Singapore. An eco-village in Costa Rica. A tech campus in Amsterdam that functioned as its own ecosystem. Each project pushed boundaries, won awards, and added to the legend of the mysterious architect who seemed to understand the future of sustainable design better than anyone else. Maya's portfolio grew, and so did her wealth. She was selective about projects, charging premium fees, and investing wisely. I lost everything else, Maya admitted. The man studied her for a long moment, and Maya had the unsettling feeling he could see straight through to her battered soul. I am Kenji Takahashi, he said finally. And you are someone who has been betrayed by someone they trusted. I can see it in the way you hold yourself, like you're afraid to take up space in the world. Maya's eyes widened. You're retired? Yes. Hiding? Also yes. Interested in why a young architect with genuine talent is wandering Tokyo looking like a ghost? Very much yes. He handed her a business card with only a phone number. Call me tomorrow if you want to learn what it really means to be an architect. Not the Western way, all ego and competition. The true way, discipline, patience, and revenge best served by becoming so good they can never ignore you again. He walked away before Maya could respond, leaving her staring at the card in her trembling hand. The transformation. Maya called the next day. Kenji lived in a traditional house in the hills outside Tokyo, surrounded by gardens he had designed himself. For the first month, he didn't let her touch a pencil or computer. Instead, she raked gravel, pruned trees, and learned to see how every element of a space affected human emotion. Architecture is not about buildings, Kenji told her as they worked in the garden one morning. It's about how space makes people feel. A person who designs from ego creates monuments to themselves. A person who designs from understanding creates spaces that elevate everyone who enters them. What about a person who designs from anger? Maya asked quietly. Kenji smiled. Anger is a powerful fuel, but terrible navigation. Use it to push yourself, but never to guide your choices. The best revenge against those who stole from you is not to destroy them, it's to become so successful that their theft becomes an obvious tragedy. The mentor. Tokyo welcomed Maya with rain and neon lights. She arrived at Haneda Airport with $3,000 in her bank account, no job prospects, and a name that meant nothing in a city of 13 million people. For the first time in months, that anonymity felt like freedom. She found a tiny apartment in Shimokitazawa, a bohemian neighborhood full of artists and dreamers, for $600 a month. It was smaller than her bedroom back home, with a bathroom so compact she could touch both walls while sitting on the toilet, but it was hers, paid for with money no one could take away. For 2 weeks, Maya did nothing but walk. She walked through the organized chaos of Shibuya, studied the ancient temples in Asakusa, sat in parks watching salarymen eat their lunch. She was healing, slowly, like a broken bone that had to be reset before it could grow strong again. On her 15th day in Tokyo, Maya visited the Mori Art Museum. There, she saw an exhibition that changed everything, The Architecture of Silence by Kenji Takahashi, a legendary architect who had designed some of the most innovative sustainable buildings in Asia before disappearing from public life 20 years ago. His work spoke to her soul, the way he made buildings breathe, the harmony between human need and environmental responsibility, the quiet power of spaces that served people rather than egos. You understand, a voice said in accented English. Maya turned to find an elderly Japanese man standing beside her, his white hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, his eyes sharp despite his age. I'm sorry? Maya said. The buildings, he continued, gesturing to the exhibition. Most people see them and think beautiful or interesting. You see them and understand what they're saying. I watched you for 20 minutes. You read architecture like poetry. I used to be an architect, Maya said, the past tense tasting bitter on her tongue. Other firms wouldn't touch her. Word spread that she was difficult, unprofessional, claimed others' work as her own. Her apartment lease was up for renewal, and she couldn't afford it without a job. Her savings evaporated paying for lawyers who told her she had no case. The disappearance. 3 months after the betrayal, Maya stood in her nearly empty apartment, a single suitcase by the door. Sophie was there, tears streaming down her face. "Where will you go?" Sophie asked. "Away," Maya said simply. "Somewhere I can start over. Somewhere no one knows my name or my face or what happened here." "This isn't fair," Sophie said angrily. "You're the talented one. You're the visionary. They stole everything from you." Maya picked up her suitcase. On the floor lay a crumpled magazine with Victoria and Damien on the cover, celebrating their engagement and the groundbreaking eco-resort design. Maya looked at it for a long moment. "Fair doesn't matter," she said quietly. "Only results matter. I learned that the hard way. Will you ever come back?" Maya walked to the door, then paused. When she turned back, something had changed in her eyes, a hardness that hadn't been there before, a determination forged in betrayal. "Yes," she said. "But not as the naive girl who left. When I come back, they'll wish they had never heard my name." She left that night on a plane to Tokyo, carrying nothing but her suitcase, her broken heart, and a burning need to prove that she was more than what they had tried to make her. The city lights faded below her, and Maya Chen, the trusting, romantic architect who believed in love and partnership, died somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. What would rise from those ashes would be something entirely different. "You were hired as a consultant, a very junior consultant. Your contribution has been noted in the files, of course." The room spun. Maya looked at the investors, but they avoided her eyes. She looked at the designs on the screen, her heart, her soul, her future, now credited to someone else. "You're lying," Maya said, her voice breaking. "We're engaged. We're partners." "You said." Damien removed something from his pocket. "Her engagement ring." He placed it on the table between them. "I think there's been a misunderstanding, Maya. Victoria and I have been together for several months now. We're actually announcing our engagement today, along with the resort project." The investors shifted uncomfortably. A few whispered to each other. Maya realized with horror that they all knew. This had been planned, orchestrated, a performance with her as the unwitting victim. The public destruction. Maya tried to fight back. She went to her boss at Chen and Associates, but Mr. Chen showed her the contract she had signed. Buried in the legal language was a clause assigning all work done on collaborative projects to the client. She had been so excited, so trusting, that she had signed without reading carefully. She tried to go to the press, but Sterling and Cross had powerful connections. The few journalists who listened published stories painting her as a disgruntled ex-girlfriend trying to steal credit from a talented architect. Victoria gave interviews describing her vision for the eco-resort, using all the language Maya had used to explain her designs. Sophie tried to help, testifying that she had seen Maya create the designs, but without documentation, it was just her word against a powerful corporation. The final blow came when Chen and Associates let Maya go. "I'm sorry," Mr. Chen said, his eyes full of genuine regret. "Sterling and Cross accounts for 20% of our business. They said it's you or them." Maya's professional reputation was destroyed. "Maya, have you signed any contracts yet? Made sure your name is on the designs?" "Damien handles all that," Maya said, waving her hand dismissively. "He said his lawyers are preparing everything. We're partners now, in business and in life." "Just be careful," Sophie warned. "In this industry, people will steal anything if they think they can get away with it." Maya laughed off the concern. She trusted Damien completely. Why wouldn't she? He loved her, supported her, believed in her talent when no one else did. The betrayal unfolds. The presentation to the investors was scheduled for March 15. Maya had prepared for weeks, rehearsing every word, anticipating every question. She arrived at the Sterling and Cross conference room 30 minutes early, her portfolio clutched to her chest like armor. But when she entered, her world tilted on its axis. Damien stood at the head of the gleaming mahogany table, surrounded by a dozen investors in expensive suits. Beside him was Victoria Sterling, the daughter of Damien's business partner, a tall, elegant woman with platinum blonde hair and the kind of confidence that came from old money. And on the screen behind them were Maya's designs. Every single one. "Ah, Maya," Damien said, his voice oddly cool. "Thank you for coming. I wanted you to see this. Victoria has done an incredible job bringing this project together." Maya's voice came out as barely a whisper. "What?" Victoria smiled, the kind of smile a cat gives a cornered mouse. "The eco-resort project is going to be spectacular. I've been working on it for months. Damien has been such a wonderful collaborator." "Those are my designs," Maya said, her voice growing stronger even as her hands began to shake. "Every single element, I created them." "Actually," Damien said, pulling out a folder, "all the designs were created under contract for Sterling and Cross. Victoria has been the lead architect on record from the beginning." "You see the world differently," Damien told her one evening as they walked through Central Park. The autumn leaves crunched beneath their feet, and the cool air carried the scent of roasting chestnuts from nearby vendors. "Most architects think about buildings. You think about how people will live in those spaces, how they'll feel, how their lives will change." Maya laughed, tucking a strand of her long black hair behind her ear. "My mother always said I was too emotional to be an architect. She wanted me to be a doctor like my father." "Your mother was wrong," Damien said, stopping to face her. The setting sun cast a golden glow across his features. "Your emotion is your strength. It's what makes your work special." He kissed her then, and Maya felt like she was floating. For the first time in her life, someone truly understood her vision, her passion, her soul. By December, they were engaged. The ring was a simple but elegant diamond that caught the light like the glass facades Maya loved to design. Damien's mother, Eleanor Cross, was less than thrilled. She had hoped her son would marry someone from their social circle, but his father, Richard, seemed charmed by Maya's authenticity. The project of a lifetime. The eco-resort project consumed Maya's life in the best possible way. She worked 18-hour days, perfecting every detail. The design featured modular units that seemed to grow from the landscape itself, solar panels disguised as artistic installations, rainwater collection systems that doubled as water features, and materials sourced from sustainable forests. "This is going to change everything," Maya told her best friend and colleague, Sophie Martinez, as they reviewed the 3D models in her cramped apartment. "Damien says investors are already lining up. After this, we can start our own firm, sophomore. No more boring office renovations." Sophie, a structural engineer with curly red hair and a practical nature, smiled but her eyes held concern. "The dream begins." Maya Chin stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Sterling and Cross real estate office, her fingers tracing the outline of her design sketches against the glass. The city stretched out before her like a canvas waiting to be painted with her dreams. At 27, she had finally caught her big break, or so she thought. "It's beautiful," a deep voice said behind her. Maya turned to see Damien Cross, the youngest real estate mogul in the city, standing with 2 cups of coffee. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his gray suit tailored to perfection, and his smile, that smile could make anyone forget their own name. "Thank you, Mr. Cross," Maya said, accepting the coffee with slightly trembling hands. This was only their 3rd meeting, but each time, her heart raced a little faster. "Damien, please," he corrected, moving closer to examine her sketches. "These designs are revolutionary, Maya. The eco-resort concept, the sustainable materials, the way you've integrated nature with modern architecture, it's exactly what the world needs right now." Maya felt her cheeks flush with pride. She had spent 3 years at Chen & Associates, a small architectural firm in the downtown area, working on minor projects, home renovations, small office buildings, nothing that showcased her real talent. Her boss, Mr. Chen, no relation, was a kind but uninspired man who played it safe with every design. But this project was different. Damien had specifically requested her after seeing a small community center she had designed. He wanted someone with fresh ideas, someone who wasn't afraid to push boundaries. The romance blooms. Over the next 3 months, Maya and Damien's professional relationship blossomed into something more. Late nights at the office turned into dinners at expensive restaurants. Design discussions transformed into conversations about dreams, fears, and the future they could build together.